Birthdays of my loved ones are very important to me and I take it very seriously, especially that of my mom because she's the most important person in my life, as you all already know. This was an incredibly special trip for my mom that I planned because she'd been mentioning it and dreaming about it for a long time, and I wanted it to be a surprise. So she didn't know where we were going until last night. We started out fairly early in the morning. I'm not an early riser, but I had to for this trip because it was quite a long one. I think we're right about Candy at this point, or nearing Candy, and I love these twists and turns on the road, and we're going to be experiencing a lot of it on this trip, you'll see. I love exploring the natural beauty of Sri Lanka and traveling all around it, and we are definitely nearing Kandy at this point, and we decided to take a break, and we headed to this cafe that I literally just like googled on the spot because we needed to figure out where to have our breakfast. And mom's very happy, birthday girling all along. This cafe was adorable, the interior was very me, and the food was also fantastic. So definitely a good pick on my part from a random Google search. What had me at the first glance was the fact that they actually stated that they were the best coffee around. So I was like, let me be the judge of that. And sure enough, it was a really great coffee. Road trips in Sri Lanka can be a little bit tiring sometimes because of the traffic and the way people drive here, and that's just me honestly speaking. And so we really appreciated the break in Kandy, and then we were back on the road, and lots more bends and twists and turns on the road, and sometimes it was a little bit scary as well because of the same reasons I mentioned before, just the way people drive. But the more we got up the mountains, the more beautiful the view was, so it was fully worth it. After what felt like forever, we were finally at our destination, and it was a beautiful cottage very close to the town but also kind of hidden away in a peaceful environment. So it was the perfect blend of prime location as well as peaceful and serene in its surroundings. The cottages we stay at do change a little bit due to reasons unforeseen, but this is where we started out, and this was the housekeeper slash butler, and he was wonderful, as you'll see. This is the beautiful cottage. It was really homely and just cozy. It was neither here nor there, lunch nor dinner when we arrived at the cottage, so our butler Kapil took us to the town to introduce us to some shops that we could buy some snackies because we were feeling a bit peckish. So here we are at one of the bakeries, and oh my goodness, the selection of baked goods were crazy. And then this uncle also had some crispy vada outside, so we grabbed some of those, and here we are with our little snack collection that we grabbed from here and there, and a freshly brewed cup of Ceylon tea because you must. Slight scene change, and we were back at the original cottage we were supposed to be at, and for dinner we actually grabbed a highly recommended vegetarian dinner from a shop in town, recommended by Kapil of course, because we told him we were vegetarian, and this was a masala dosa. And after that we were back in our room and comfortably sipping more tea, mind you, and reading my book finally. It was very cozy. Mornings in NUWARAELIYA are especially beautiful, and the sights we woke up to were stunning. And we headed over to St. Andrews by Jetwing for breakfast. The gardens in this hotel were absolutely stunning, and the flowers were so beautiful as well. My mom loved looking at all of them. She took her time and admired each and every flower, as you can see, just like literally stopping at each flower. It was her birthday, and the whole point of this vacation was to have her enjoy it, and seeing her actually really enjoying it was making my heart full. It was also kind of nice to wear some warm clothes for a change because I have so many of them and rarely ever get to wear them unless I'm watching a movie because the cinemas are freezing. This building is quite an old one turned into a hotel, and I believe it was a church to begin with, and some of those historical remnants are still there, preserved, so that guests can still see them and admire them. And I really enjoyed the presence of this hotel. I felt like it had a lot of history behind it, and I love characters, so yeah, this was definitely a highlight of the trip. The spaces here were beautifully landscaped, and I felt like a lot of thought went into designing it, and we really enjoyed not only the space here but also the customer service and just how hospitable they were, all the staff, so that was really wonderful as well. And it's just a tranquil place to spend your time, just sitting and watching and just being in nature, because there's just such a harmony with the hotel and the nature here. My mom absolutely loved it, so there she's just staring out. So finally, after breakfast, we were ready to head out on some adventure, and our driver had some plans for us, so we were just going to let him take the lead, because for once I was not having to decide on what we were going to do. So he took us to one of the strawberry farms, and actually he took us to two. This was the first of the two, and this one just had a lot of fresh produce, and we grabbed quite a bit of it, jams and sauces and a lot of that. And then the second one was the better known one, which is the Jagro strawberry farm, and of course we had to have some snackies there with some coffee. We didn't do the strawberry farm tour because I'd actually seen quite a lot of them back in Australia, so I didn't really feel the need to. I did love these flowers. These are some of my favorites that I keep buying even back in Colombo for my flower vases at home. Then we drove all the way back to Gregory's Lake, which obviously is a very, very popular place, but I had not been before. Apparently I have when I was a child, but I have like no memory of it, so I was very excited to check it out and see what it's about. Honestly, I love the lake, and it's just such a beautiful space as well, but something about the Gregory's Lake garden that I didn't quite love, which I will talk about a little later. But the lake itself was really beautiful, and of course we had to do the little ride. There were different types of boat rides you could choose, and we chose the one that was a little bit more mellow because my mom's a little bit afraid of the faster boats, the motorboats, and this one was kind of our vibe. We've been on these before in different places around the world, so this was definitely a good choice because it was really peaceful, and apart from some daredevil jet ski situations, this ride was overall about an 8 out of 10. This was definitely my favorite area that we traveled on the boat to on this lake, and it's kind of like a mangrove area, and it just felt way more uncontaminated, and it wasn't as polluted as the rest of the lake, and it was just completely serene. And yeah, this definitely was the highlight of the entire ride for me, and I felt like I'd gotten on this boat just to enjoy this little bit, which wasn't very long. It's like maybe 2-3 minutes to cover this area, and the whole boat ride I think was maybe 20-25 minutes, but this was honestly just beautiful. I felt like this is the kind of vibe it should have been all throughout, because honestly I feel like in an area like this, surrounding buildings and everything should have some sort of planning and regulation so that they all look a certain way and look uniform, and they have an ability to blend with the lake and the surroundings. So I think it just comes with planning. And also with the garden, I felt like, again, it just seemed very haphazard. We were back at the hotel for a quick change of clothes and a little bit of rest. And then it was time for the most important part of the day and the most special part of the day, which was my mom's actual birthday celebration, doing what she loves the most, which is high tea. She loves a good high tea, and we were at the Grand Hotel for their high tea, which they're known for, so we had high expectations for sure. I'd been here before and enjoyed it quite a lot, and we ordered the vegetarian high tea, and they made a special effort to cater to us, so we were excited to see what was in store. Usually the high tea is fully booked out, and especially because this was also Mother's Day that my mom's birthday fell on, But it wasn't that busy, and we had kind of the whole place to ourselves. And here's me in my very English outfit. I made an effort, can you tell? And yeah, it was just a great time actually to sit and chill and be nonchalant for my video. We were kind of full, so we decided to take a walk around the garden and just explore the grounds a little bit, enjoy the flowers. And there's also a fountain just sort of on the side, which you'll see as well. And when we got back from our walk, we were offered a complimentary Yara tea, and a Dilma Yara tea is unbeatable in especially this cold weather. So this was just the right icing on the cake. Then we were back to exploring some more, the fountain and these beautiful arches made out of, floral arches or leafy arches, whatever you may call it. Those were really cute as well. There were a lot of photo ops, and obviously I made use of them. I thought this side of the hotel was especially pretty. It gave me very English vibes, very London-esque, if you will, and beautiful photo ops here as well. So this was our last day, last morning here in NUWARAELIYA, and we grabbed breakfast at the buffet at St. Andrews again, and then it was time to go. This was a really nice breakfast. I would rate it maybe 6 out of 10. I feel like it could have been better, and maybe it might have been better if we had turned up early, but I kind of slept in. So walked around the interior of the hotel just once more to see if we'd missed anything, and sure enough we had. There were a lot of artifacts that were framed and hung on the walls, some documents from back then that were all kind of still preserved, and a lot of antiques as well that were still preserved for patrons to see and enjoy. Then we were back in our room to quickly just pack. We had actually packed before breakfast because we're organized like that. But just one little last check, and then we were ready to go. Not happily, of course, because we'd really started to enjoy this weather and this atmosphere. But, every good thing must come to an end. Actually, I don't like that. It shouldn't. And, let's look into that. But for now, it must take a small pause. And off we go back to Colombo. The ride back did not disappoint. There was still a lot to see, and especially on the side which we weren't traveling on when we were on the way to NUWARAELIYA. There was just a lot to see, waterfalls, things like that, and a lot of people do stop to properly explore those areas, but we were kind of just wanting to get back, so we didn't do that this time around. But we did take a couple of pit stops that were special and suggested by our driver, so we could enjoy those little spots a little bit more. I think this particular spot that we stopped at, and the locals told us that we were looking at NUWARAELIYA, if I was to remember correctly. And this was another place where you could really stop and enjoy the view. There's a platform built just for that. You can park your car. So this I really enjoyed, and it was like a bit of a last hurrah to mark the trip entirely. So it was very special. Sad to be leaving, actually. On the way back, we were hungry, so it was time to get some lunch, and this is a very highly frequented place by many locals as well as tourists. So we grabbed a traditional Sri Lankan lunch here, rice and curry all the way. It was wonderful. Leaving you with these breathtaking views and maybe motivating you to go to NUWARAELIYA.